Hello and welcome to Media MD, the podcast where each fortnight we prescribe each other a piece of media that we have somehow missed. I'm Reuben Morehouse.
And I'm Elliot Diebold.
And this fortnight is my turn to prescribe us something, Elliot.
Correct.
So last week we realised we didn't have a Halloween episode, so we put up an episode that we had been keeping in our back pocket for a while, which was Black Mirror, which we thought was very Halloween appropriate.
Well, it's existentially spooky.
Yes, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think this show which I'm bringing you today, which is called Peep Show, for some stats, it aired from 2013 to 2012 and then had another season in 2015, but we'll get to that later. I think Peep Show is probably a show that I would definitely classify as scary. Not in the traditional sense, but in the sense of... It's just scary to think that there are people like this out there in the world, Elliot. It's terrifying. And it's a terrifying glimpse into the worst sides of humanity, I would say. So let's talk a bit about what Peep Show is. Before we can talk about it, I think we should talk about who the stars are. It comes from the British comedy duo Mitchell and Webb.
Okay.
And I think Robert Webb isn't that well known outside of this kind of the stuff that they've done together. But you will probably know David Mitchell quite well.
Yeah,
right?
in fact, the only reason I have heard of Robert Webb is because he does stuff with David Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, he does stuff on his own, but I don't think it has as much mainstream appeal as David Mitchell's stuff has. David Mitchell is probably well known for being the most biting and sarcastic panel show guest on any British panel show that you see. He actually is so well known for his long, logical rants that they gave him a TV show for a while, which was just 5 minutes of him ranting in between other TV shows on the BBC.
And I mean, I'm a huge fan of the British show Would I Lie to You, and he's one of the regulars on that.
He's one of the regular hosts on that, yeah. And I think he's quite a funny man. Now, I'm not super sure about the timeline of this, but I'm pretty sure that Mitchell and Webb together, they got started doing a radio show called That Mitchell and Webb Sound, I think it was called. Then they got a TV show from that called That Mitchell and Webb Look. They had some other TV shows, and then they did Peep Show, which stars the two of them. So let's talk a bit about what Peep Show is. It's a very British show, I would say. It's kind of the epitome, to me at least, of this awkward, cringy British style of humor, which was pretty popular, 10 years ago or whatever, with The Office and all these kinds of shows.
In-Betweeners,
yep, sure. But to me, Peep Show is the master of this.
So I imagine at least David is playing just a sort of socially awkward nerd guy.
Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about the two characters. David Mitchell plays a character called Mark, who's very socially awkward.
Yep.
And he doesn't really fit in anywhere, and he's kind of a bit of a shit. And Robert Webb plays a character called Jeremy, who is an aspiring musician who thinks he's great and hates everyone else in the world. And they have this very toxic relationship, but they're very, very close, and they're roommates. Which makes for quite an interesting dynamic, because it's hard to tell at some points whether they actually like each other or whether they're the only two people that they found that are actually willing to tolerate each other for a long period of time.
Is this one of those situations where it's just they're the only two people who will stay around each other?
Yeah, it does sometimes feel like that, but it's weird to say, but their kind of toxicity leads to this weird chemistry that they have with each other, which is very engaging. They're the two main characters, and there are some other characters that kind of come in and out throughout the season. The third main character, I would say, is played by a girl called Olivia Chapman, who's also a pretty well-known British actress. She's in Broadchurch. She's one of the mains opposite David Tennant. But that's kind of the structure of the show. The loose structure is Jeremy and Mark trying to do something and usually failing or somehow succeeding and then fucking it up in the most incredible way just because of their weird, awkward personalities that are never really meant to go anywhere. They're the kinds of people that are never really going to get anywhere in life, and if they do, it won't last very long.
Yeah, because they'll sort of sabotage it, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. They're the masters of self-sabotage, and it's I'd compare it to the US Office, but the distinction to me is the US Office, one, has heart, and I think Peep Show doesn't try to make you like the characters almost ever. There are times definitely when you feel bad for the characters, but I don't think you ever really want them to succeed that much.
So more like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Well, yes, but in Always Sunny, it's kind of a fun show. I mean, Peep Show is fun. Don't get me wrong. I love this show. It's like one of the funniest shows that I've ever watched. But it's not like Peep Show. I wouldn't call that whimsical ever, whereas Always Sunny is kind of whimsical. Peep Show is very grounded in this dark, depressing reality of the lives of these two people who get up to very humorous antics, and it's so much fun to watch. But it's fun to watch in the sense of watching a hilarious train crash. The other difference I would say with the US Office is that show has, like, I love cringe comedy, right? I'm a fan of it, but
sure.
The Office has never hit me to the same extent where I've sometimes when watching Peep Show for the first time around, at least, because I've watched this show many times, I would have to stop the episode and just sit there and just be like, I just need a break from this for a second,
yeah, well, I think the US Office hit me with that once, and that was that Scott's Tots episode.
Scott's Tots, yeah, that's probably pretty well known. I would say Peep Show hits that at least once a season for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard because that happens to me when I'm watching like real life cringe videos of things people have actually done.
Yeah.
But when it's fiction, that bar gets so much higher to clear, and Peep Show is one of the very few things that has successfully cleared that bar for me. I don't want to point out any episodes, but there's an episode I think at the start of season 4, I think it is, where the two guys go on a boat trip, and if you've seen Peep Show, you'll know the episode I'm talking about. And what happens in that episode is it's disgusting, and it's like it's the most messed up thing that two civilized people could ever accidentally find themselves doing. Yeah, and it's not all bad. I mean, there's just moments that are like lighthearted stupidity. There's a moment where, well, yeah, I'll give away one little spoiler for a joke that happens. There's a moment where Mark accidentally confesses his love to somebody, and he does it in a very awkward way. So the next time he sees this girl at work, he hides. He hides in the cupboard. He goes and he hides in the stationery cupboard, and this is a success. The girl walks past and doesn't notice him, but then someone else comes and opens the cupboard and says, "Oh, hi, Mark." And the guy's like, "I'm just in the cupboard right now," and then closes the door. And it's this perfect line delivery that's just like, it's great. And the show is full of a lot of these very funny, very clever lines. Yeah, it really does master this kind of cringe comedy while also, doing some other cleverer comedy along the way to keep you invested in between these moments, I'd say.
Okay.
So one thing I want to talk about, which is a bit weird about the show, it's interesting, and it's a very, I think this show uses it as a very clever technique. The reason it's called Peep Show is because most of the show, not all of it, but most of it is perspective shots. So always filmed from the perspective of a character, usually the two main characters, but sometimes not. And that's not the same character throughout the episode. It jumps around, in the scenes, but you almost always see things through the eyes of one of the characters.
So that would make it feel sort of very close up and claustrophobic a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it really helps to put you in these situations, even to the extent of there are some sex scenes in this show, and when they're doing a sex scene, you're like right up in the face of the person that they're having sex with, And it when these invariably end in weird, cringy situations, it's like so close. It's so close. You really get this intimate sense of the situation, and it just makes it hit home all the more. And I think that's one of the things that makes this show really successful in that regard.
Yeah, okay. I can imagine it would have a similar effect on awkward silences and that sort of thing. If you were just sort of staring at the other characters from one character's point of view, it would really make it feel how long it is.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a rough. it's a very successful technique, which makes it so weird because it like puts you in their perspective, and it makes these moments hit home so much. Yeah, so let's talk a bit about the structure of the show. It's a British TV show, so it's 6-episode seasons. They did 8 seasons from 2013 to 2012, and then the show kind of stopped there. And then they did a reunion season, I guess, 3 years later.
Sure.
And normally I would say, beware of the final season because, they brought it back and it's, never quite as good. But not with this show. I would say Peep Show is successful all the way through. It maintains its strength for the whole show, I would say. And I would say if you can get through all 9 seasons in 2 weeks, Elliot, you should try. I've been rewatching it lately. I've been rewatching it lately over the past week or two, and I've gotten through the first 3 seasons, and I'm not watching it very fast. It's just like it's even episode to episode, you don't want to turn away. It's an amazing show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll see how I go. I'm not always the best with cringe humor, so I may not get through as much just because half-hour episodes are taking me 2 hours to get through.
To be able to get through. That's fair enough. I'm very surprised that you haven't seen this show before, Elliot, because I feel like it is right up your alley.
I've heard of it, and it's sort of been one of those shows where when I've heard of it, I've been like, oh, I should watch that one day, but yeah, I guess it never made the cut.
You've somehow missed it.
Yep.
That's what this podcast's for, to make sure that doesn't happen. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I think we can talk about some of the other stuff in 2 weeks. A lot of the strength of this comedy just comes from the fact that it's well written, it's well put together. It started in 2003, so early episodes are the production quality is so, but it's justifiable, and because of the kind of style of the show, it doesn't really become a problem ever.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't want to talk too much about the technical stuff, apart from that one kind of perspective weirdness that the show has, just because in a comedy, what really makes it is it funny, and do you want to keep watching it? And I think the answer for that for Peep Show is yes. I'm going to leave it there, and we'll see how you do in 2 weeks, see how far you get through it. And I can't wait to talk to you about it. When we get back in 2 weeks, I'm really excited to see where you've gotten up to, because I just want to talk about how great some of the moments in this show are, and I don't want to do that until you've actually seen them.
Yeah, sure.
We'll stop discussing. Or do you have any other questions about it first?
No, I think you've covered everything I sort of need to know, I guess. So yeah, I'll just head back to season 1. Is it all on Netflix or something?
Yep, it's all on Netflix actually, so it's very easy to. It's all on Netflix Australia, 100%. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix in other countries, but I would check that with your local Netflix subscription. But yeah, we'll leave it there, and we'll get back in 2 weeks and see what you thought of Peep Show. If you guys want to kind of follow along with us and leave your comments on Peep Show, there's a link to the subreddit thread down below where we're discussing Peep Show, where you can do that. And we might feature some of your comments on next fortnight's podcast. For our off-week content next week, we'll be talking about a web series called Marble Olympics, which is a bit of a weird one. It's gonna be fun. I think I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, otherwise we will see you back here in a week. Good luck with Peep Show, Elliot. I think you'll love it.
Oh, we'll see.